because I know we were laughing. We were at our local Cinemark. The movie just came out today, and there were two younger guys, obviously, younger than you, got up and left. And I was laughing because we were talking about it later. We're like, I don't know what they were expecting.
I think I know what they were expecting.
Yeah, I know, right? Probably. Hi, I'm Teresa. Welcome to our weekend show of Cocoon Cast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we'll be discussing the new movie, Miller's Girl.
Hey, Rebecca, we have some Saturday Night Live news.
Some SNL news. Jason Reitman wants to party like it's 1975.
Great. Let's get started.
Mr. Miller and Kyra Sweet are often bored of their drab existences in the small town where they live, finding escapism in literature. However, when Kyra becomes Mr. Miller's student, they both blur the boundaries in their minds towards each other. Will they be able to reel themselves back from making disastrous choices before making a decision they can't undo?
Rebecca, we did not know too much about this movie. Going in, I think we saw the trailer maybe once in the theater, but we literally had to seek out this trailer before we went and saw this movie.
We see so many movies at this point, it becomes a treasure hunt to find a movie that we want to see that we haven't seen yet.
And saw the trailer, and your thought was?
I like Martin Freeman.
Yes.
I think he's been really underappreciated the last few years. Part of that's his decision. He's been playing Everett Ross in the MCU franchise. And Jenna Ortega, to me, I feel, has been typecast. She's been the spooky girl Wednesday. She's been slightly spooky in Scream. So I was looking for her to break out of her shell with this movie.
I understand she's known as the Scream Queen.
Yes, Jenna's an honorary Scream Queen. For those in our cinema community who don't know what a Scream Queen is, the Scream Queen is somebody who often features in horror movies. Spoiler alert, they may or may not survive, but the odds are that they are.
Oh, I didn't know that part. Oh, interesting. My understanding is she is Wednesday Addams on the one that you're watching, correct?
The show Wednesday, yes.
Okay, and she's getting some good buzz for that. Young, 21. I remember Martin Freeman in Black Panther and some of the MCU, but he's done the British version of Sherlock.
That's what most people know him for. Most people know him for either that or our favorite cranky middle-aged hobbit, Bilbo Baggins.
I was going to say, yeah, I knew the Hobbit piece. Honestly, I wasn't really excited about seeing this movie. I'll be honest with you. The premise is teacher, young student, literature references flying everywhere. She's coming on to him, and I'm like,
kissing ensues?
Yeah, right. It's kind of like Dicey ensues. It didn't deviate too far from that.
It really didn't. If you see the trailer, you're going to know what you're getting into. The saving grace for me about this movie was it was not that saucy. It showed it just enough to know what was going on.
That's a great point. I actually agreed with that because things were hinted and concluded, but you didn't necessarily have to see everything that was going on. I don't need that in my life, I'll be honest with you. It wasn't that spectacular. There was a certain element of both, I think, are good actors and actresses, but it felt a little cliche. Martin's wife was Jonathan Miller in the movie, but his wife, it's not a spoiler alert, his wife has a glass of booze in her hand every scene, and she, puts him down. It's like, oh, I married you when you were a writer. Now you're just a teacher. It just, I don't know. It wasn't that she was terrible. It just felt very cliche.
Yeah, she definitely vamped up her role for what it was worth. I felt like everybody was acting comfortable. The word for me in this movie is comfortable. There was no really new excitement to be found except for maybe one or two little plot twists. And even then, I was hoping at the end that there would be a massive plot twist that would redeem this movie. There's not.
And it's tricky because obviously we don't want to spoil it for our cinema community. If you haven't seen it and you're looking forward to seeing it, wonderful. We just don't want to go, oh, and then this happened. But the reality is if you watch it and it's predictable, you're probably going to know where it goes, how it plays itself out. I think one of the saving graces that I liked was the relationship between Boris, who's a coach, with Jonathan Miller, who's the primary character. their banter back and forth was actually pretty cute and pretty funny because they're like best friends at work, and that I enjoyed. That was pretty smart.
When I saw them interact with each other, I felt like the movie was very cohesive. At some point, some of the other characters felt dry and almost stereotypical in this sort of role.
It felt very stereotypical to me. I think the other part that was different is there were a lot of literature references, but the movie was about an hour and 35 minutes, 39 minutes. And the joke that I had with you is, boy, they better get to it quick because this is not a very long movie.
No, and I appreciate the fact that they economized the story for the time that they had it. It would have been so easy to make this longer, stretch it out. But you got the sense that the filmmakers were almost running out of ideas. I remember you and I were coming back to the studio, and we both agreed that there could have been several more layers added to this, which could have made it a more interesting movie, and dare I say, enticing movie.
I agree with that. I think the ending definitely could have been different, and I would have been very happy with it. Obviously, it's not a true story. You know, we've been laughing about, oh, the epilogues are nowhere in sight. But it was one of those things where, because it was predictable, it did feel boring at times, even though it's supposed to be, pretty salacious and, intriguing. It just, I just wasn't feeling it. And like I said, admittedly, I really wasn't excited about seeing the movie. It didn't really go, ooh, this should be interesting. It was like, okay, let's see it, right? Let's give it some love. Let's see. Maybe we'll be really surprised at how it goes. And it really wasn't. It was, because it was so predictable, it didn't feel creative. It didn't feel exciting. It wasn't terrible.
It just felt very dry. And I feel bad saying this about a director. This is their first film. This is also a film that she wrote. It ended up on the Hollywood blacklist for this year. For those in our cinema community who don't know what the blacklist is a list of the best screenplays. It's usually about 80 screenplays. Every screenplay that hasn't been produced or optioned makes its way onto this list. It's the creme de la creme. If you hit here, you'll likely get a film deal.
That's interesting. The other part that I thought was interesting was, because like we said, I didn't know anything about her, but Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg produced this. Their production company helped bring this to the light of day. I thought that was actually kind of interesting.
It shows to me that they're really trying to diversify their portfolio.
Sure, I would agree with that, which is, I just thought that was funny. I'm like, what kind of movie is this going to even be?
It's about 3 dudes, 3 bros, 3 ride or die homies.
I didn't know that until you brought it to my attention shortly before we were to see the movie.
But to me, it's when you don't know much about the cinematographer, you don't know much about the person who's creating the music, you don't know much about the directing, you know a little bit about the actors. And to me, it wasn't as if the actors were overacting in any way. It felt a little phoned it in.
That's what I'm saying, is these actors felt like they were just playing every other role that I've seen them play. And I was so disappointed because I want to believe that these actors can elevate their performances. I know for sure Martin can do it. Sure. I'm still jury's out on Gemma, but...
It's funny. You were talking about the acting, and obviously acting is a variety of different things, but the facial expressions in my mind when I'm thinking about didn't change a whole lot.
And there's several shots that are designed to give you a glimpse into the emotional landscape of the characters.
Yes.
As a zoom in on their face. And it communicated the bare minimum. I don't want to say this movie's phoned in. It took a lot of time, effort, and hard work for everyone involved.
Sure.
But I feel like it could have been so much better, and I'm severely disappointed in what I got.
And that's a kind way to say that. And to me, the phoned in part, like you said, it's not to be derogatory. It just felt we're going through the motions. And I look at facial expressions. I look at eye expressions. There are so many, even trailers. The Bob Marley trailer we've seen 12,000 times at this point. When you look at the eyes and the face, it tells the story. And I was really hoping that this would tell more of the story. But I don't know if the casting would have helped it, if it would have been cast differently.
I'm wondering if there's a restrained element to the casting right now. I wonder if there's a direction that they were told to go. They're like, don't make this too overly emotional. Otherwise, people won't take this seriously. And the only one who didn't get the memo was the lady whose name escapes me, who played Miller's wife.
Oh, right. And because she was Priscilla's mother in the movie Priscilla.
Yes.
So I believe she's capable. And that's the thing, I think, in Jenna Ortega, I don't know much about her recently. I mean, I know she's still young. And this would be a hard role, meaning, this teacher and this whole relationship, does it go forward? Does it not? The other part that I found interesting is it felt like they weren't making anybody the bad guy or the bad gal. It was very even-handed, and I think that's a challenge because it does feel like the adult has the responsibility, not the high school student.
But there's also a challenge at that point to keep it from being an after-school special, if it will.
I'll give you that. That's. Do we have any questions from the box?
Thinking about the audience, who would like this movie and why would they like it?
I think this is almost a beginning romantic thriller. If you want to know what the genre's like, this is a good peek into what stories you get most of.
I agree. It was interesting, too, because as I was looking for the genre, because I like to hear how they like to classify it, and one said it's a thriller drama, and another one said it's a drama comedy or thriller comedy. To me, there was nothing really funny about this. So I think that's hard if you're doing research and go, who should watch this? I have a hard time, first of all, recommending the movie, but I also have a hard time going, who would enjoy this? Because I know we were laughing. We were at our local Cinemark. The movie just came out today. And there were two younger guys, obviously, younger than you, got up and left. And I was laughing because we were talking about it later. We're like, I don't know what they were expecting.
I think I know what they were expecting.
I know, right? Probably. But it was funny because maybe somebody who's gone through this experience, maybe who's someone who wanted to hear what it must like to be a teacher, to be, attracted to a younger girl or a younger girl who's attracted to a teacher. And I'm not making judgments about that kind of a piece, like who likes this. I have a hard time going, who would enjoy this movie? Because we like the indie films. We were okay, who was in it. Martin Freeman, we like him. We were like, okay, this could be pretty good.
I think if you like films like Poison Ivy and you want to graduate to films like Basic Instinct, this is a good starter film.
Yeah, it's much tamer than Basic Instinct by tenfold.
But it still has kind of that tension that you find is like, okay, who's playing who? Who's uncovering stuff about whom?
Well, and it is a rated R film. So there is that part that clearly younger teenagers, not appropriate. Rebecca, it is that time of the show. 5 moths.
Not many going to be flying right now.
Ooh, all right. 1 to 5. What do you think?
This is a 2-month movie for me.
Ooh, all right. Number 1 reason for a 2?
It felt half-baked, and it should have spent more time in the oven.
Okay. Do you think more time would have helped it, or?
I think so. I think there's a story you can tell here, being respectful to the characters on both sides of the equation without making both characters look like extremely foolish.
Okay.
And the actors for being foolish to choose to star in this movie.
Do you think it's worth a watch, or?
Only if you're in the audience I described. I think there's going to be an audience for this movie. I'm kind of concerned it will be a mocking audience instead of an audience that might appreciate some of the more artistic choices being taken with this.
Okay, fair enough. All right, 1 to 5. Back to the oof moth. I would say I'll give it a 2 and a wing.
Production design? I know you're a sucker for good set design.
I am a sucker for set design. I think the cinematography was actually pretty good and compelling. But to me, it's an average film. It's not above average to me. It's close to below average, but because of some of the relationships, like I was saying, the coach and the teacher, I liked that. there was some dialogue that was smart here and there, but it was dispersed. I think it was ambitious. It tried. I do believe that it tried to bring, creative characters, attention. It just didn't execute it that well.
Yeah, it went for Southern Gothic realism, and I think
that's a genre.
I think the realism definitely was there, but I just felt like there wasn't enough drama in it.
I would agree with that.
If you enjoyed our review on Miller's Girl, please like, which helps more viewers find our cinema community, and subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming reviews, and please share with your friends.
Today, we are going to do something different. You get to guess, who are we not sponsored by?
Oh, I was hoping you say I get to guess who we're sponsored by. Okay, can you give me a hint at least?
Ooh. Yellow Pencil People.
Ticonderoga?
Dixon.
Ticonderoga.
Yeah, there you go. It's easy for you to say.
Yep.
Maybe that's why they didn't want to sponsor us, because I can't say their name too well.
Did you sneeze when you left a voicemail?
I did. Let's talk about them. You know them as the Yellow Pencil People, and they were founded 197 years ago.
I think that's our oldest sponsor to date. Our oldest not
sponsored by to
Oh,
date.
you got me doing it.
Yes. And guess who they were created by? You'll never guess.
Who are they created by?
Joseph Dixon.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Joseph Ticonderoga. I'm like, wow, that's a long last name.
No, actually, okay. Ticonderoga, do you know? See, I can't even say it. I have no hope. Is actually a town in New York. And this is homage. They actually gave homage to this town because that's where they would get the graphite.
Oh, I really thought it was going to be related to American history, the fort and everything.
No.
Okay.
No. So Joseph Dixon, there's obviously the nice romantic tale. He was 13, realized the need for a pencil because I guess they were using goose quill pens before that, and clearly no little erasers. Yeah, take the feather. And I guess the imported pencils back in the day were 25 cents, which I don't know what that equals now, but apparently back then, too much money. And he set out. So in 23, he put all of his money aside and he started making pencils with graphite and clay.
That's what he spent his money on?
That's right. That's what you do. What am I going to spend my money on? That. Interestingly enough, so 60 years later, right, the Dixon changed, right? The name changed. But I know you know them, not for the yellow pencils, but
My favorite pencils from the Ticonderoga folks are the black pencils with the black erasers.
And we call those the goth pencils.
Yes,
Yes.
we do.
No, I laugh because I grew up, I remember my dad always had the yellow ones everywhere. I mean, literally all over our house.
Are you sure he wasn't John Wick trying to kill people with a pencil?
John is a man of focus, commitment, sheer will. Something you know very little about. I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil. With a fucking pencil.
Oh, he does that. I was going to say, yeah, they double as John Wick devices. Nice. That's true. I guess they're excited because they use the premium wood. They're slick. They're fancy. They're fancy. And for the longest time, they were created in the United States and then they actually sold off.
Where are they created now?
Well, the pencils are created in Mexico and China.
Oh, okay. International pencil pushing
exactly, but they still have a headquarters in Florida, so it's a little bit confusing. But my favorite product is
Still the pencil.
It's still the pencil, but here's the thing that I thought was interesting. So Joseph Dixon, he's kind of hanging out and doing all this other stuff. He was connected to people historically that we know, not like our neighbors and friends and things.
That would be disturbing.
Yeah, I know, right? Back from the dead. But Samuel Morris, Robert Fulton, Alexander Graham Bell, and Orestes Cleveland.
That's an interesting name.
Well, he was a politician who apparently ended up running the Dixon Company, and he married Joseph's daughter.
Huh. You didn't get arrested?
Not at all. Quite fascinating. But the part that I like are, inventions and all this, right? He's connected with all these great guys. They were saying that he helped create like the viewfinder and the camera, which obviously in Cocoon Cast we love. But the other part is he developed a method for sniffing out counterfeits. Like the bills and things?
sniff.
Yeah, exactly. So he's pretty creative guy,
Who knew? Tiny little pencil could lead to so much.
I would say. But guess what?
Still not sponsored?
No sponsor. Thanks a lot for not sponsoring us this week.
Thanks for not sponsoring us, Ticonderoga.
That's easy for you to say.
It's that time in the show where we want to hear from you. We'd love to see your comments on our videos, especially your rating in the movie and why. Now let's talk about some of the cool comments we've been getting.
First up, we have Zach Milne Talks Movie. Ah, a fellow movie reviewer. Nice.
Encourage you to check out his channel. Zach's always a good time.
Great. He commented on our review of ISS. Here's what he had to say. I thought this concept was so ripe for an awesome, thrilling ride. And the movie was not all that. No kidding, huh? Mm-hmm. At 95 minutes, the pace surprisingly dragged, and the movie tries to do too much that it loses sight of its simplistic yet brilliant concept. Could have been amazing, but I walked out feeling meh. Also, I'm pretty sure that it forgets there is no gravity in space more than a couple of times. Oh, exclamation point. Great review. Ooh.
That's a nice compliment.
Yeah, I don't think he's wrong in his assessment either.
The only gravity this movie had was occasional plot devices.
Yeah, oof, I appreciate that. Well, thank you, fellow movie reviewer Zach. We're happy that you understand that one.
Next up, we have Jeff Stewart 3342, who commented on a review of Queen Rocks Montreal. Here's what he had to say. Legends never die. True that. Montreal was the best. San Diego second. I haven't seen the San Diego show tape in a long time, but yeah, I think the Montreal concert that we got to see in Queen Rocks Montreal, totally worth it.
All right. Well, I haven't seen the San Diego one at all either, so I'm like, whoa, no, that's a good thought, right?
Things we can watch on the weekends.
Right. When we're not watching other movies. When we're not watching Miller's Girl. Man, that was what we should have watched.
You sound so resentful.
I'm slightly resentful.
Good to know.
Next up, we have Kathy Thompson 6872, who commented also on a review of Queen Rock Montreal. Here's what she had to say. As someone who is never able to see Queen live, I'm grateful that this movie was released. I'm aware that current technology was needed to make this even happen now in IMAX. Regarding lacks in the movie, I don't believe Queen had much to say over the production, and the producer apparently had never attempted filming a rock concert before.
Ooh.
I know, right? Is there good stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor? Possibly. Would I go see it again? In a heartbeat. For more detail, there is a YouTube video of Brian May talking to the opening night audience that tells some interesting backstory.
Well, now I'm going to have to go check it out because I love Brian's perspective on things. He has a really great way of putting yourself in the musician's shoes when they're trying to communicate something to everybody else.
I know I always appreciate it when the comments from our cinema community tell us what they think, what their Moth rating would be, that sort of thing. But I also appreciate it too when they offer suggestions. It's, hey, have you seen, have you checked out? I remember one member of our cinema community had commented on the Taylor Swift's Eras tour, and she had written a really long response, and it was, hey, listen to this song. Hey, check this out. Hey, do that. And I appreciate that. We can't see it all. We don't know it all. And clearly any suggestions around that to help educate us more, I think it's a great thing. And like you said, I'm going to check it out.
Totally. And I love the fact that our cinema community is so cohesive in their vision, not only to enjoy movies, but also to help us learn about movies. Just because you've seen that one movie 20 million times might be the first time for somebody else.
Exactly right. And now it's time for some Hollywood news. Rebecca, what's going on out there?
Well, Jason Reitman wants to party like it's 1975.
Okay, so I'm like this little kid in kindergarten. Let's talk. How am I boogieing when I'm a little kid?
Jason is taking this to the next level. He interviewed a ton of people that were there at the founding of SNL. The whole point of this movie is literally the drama leading up to the first taping and airing of SNL. And I'm really excited because the cast list is looking pretty neato. Do you remember the Fabelmans?
All right. No. Before we get there, where are you finding this?
Okay, all right.
You sure you're not just like pulling inside and go, well, here's my thoughts.
I'm pulling this from thin air, hoping to predict this. No, I'm actually pulling this from Deadline. Justin Kroll, once again, we don't know if he's related to Nick Kroll. Justin, if you could tell us, That'd be awesome.
Comment below, Justin, if you're related. All right. I hassled you enough. Tell me who's up, who's going on.
Right.
Yeah, you're excited.
I am totally excited. I'm the kid who checked out the complete expanded history of SNL, the book this big.
Oh, yes. I recall such things when you were in college.
From my college library about no less than 10 times.
Yeah, right. I know at one point I thought, she's keeping that book. She's not returning it. Because I'm like, you still have it? Because it just like floated around our house for a while. I remember this.
I think at one point I almost lost it. And you're like, I've been reading it.
Yeah, no, I had actually. But he knows what he's talking about. So who's coming down the pike?
Okay, so the Fablemans. You remember the Fablemans?
Oh, yeah, I love Fablemans.
Okay, do you remember the person you liked most in the Fablemans? And don't say Paul Dano, even though I know you like him.
No,
okay.
all right. You tell me, who did I like most? Because Paul Dano's the name.
Gabriel LaBelle.
Oh.
Young Steven Spielberg.
Oh, he was cute. I liked him.
Yeah, he was really sweet. They chose him to play Lorne Michaels.
Oh.
You kind of see it, huh?
Well, it's just kind of funny. It's just, you just think of Lorne Michaels being Lorne Michaels, not also playing Lorne Michaels. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's just, it's kind of a weird thing to think of him as cast and such things.
Yeah, it's a little strange because you've lived through that time period. I just made you sound super old.
Well, you know, own the age if you've got it. Yeah, no, I hear that. I have no problem with that.
There's also somebody else that I know you're going to be really interested in as well.
I'm interested to learn.
I can't wait to see this movie when it comes out. Cooper Hoffman is also going to be in it.
Oh, Phil Seymour Hoffman's kid. Yeah, he was in Licorice Pizza.
We saw that movie for my birthday.
I remember that. Oh, he's a good actor. His dad was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the bittersweet, though, isn't it? Kind of like, oh, his dad won't be able to see this.
That's true. And I think Cooper can hold his own as his own person.
I think he's already establishing that, to be honest with you. And do you know the role he's playing, or?
Yes. Hold on one second. Cooper's going to be playing Dick Ebersol. And so Dick was one of the early producers on SNL.
Oh, wow. Or did they have an idea of when the movie's coming out, or?
My guess is 1 to 2 years, especially since we're now seeing this cast list. And this movie has been such a long time in the making. I imagine they'll go, foom, foom, foom. And before you know it, the movie's going to be here.
On your birthday again.
Oh, man, that would be interesting. I know we're trying to do Frankenstein and Dracula, but this might take the spot.
Wow. Do we have any questions from the box?
Jason Reitman is going through this phase where he's taking old things like the old Ghostbusters and translating it to a new property. Do you think it's going to work well with the old Saturday Night Live and making this new property?
If you would have asked me before I had seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, I would have said, yes, but I'm worried. Since I've seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, I would say yes, and I'm excited.
I would agree with that. I am excited. I think he has a passion for movies like his dad, but he has the qualifications, and I laugh, right? He's a little bit older than I am, but I think he remembers it, right? I remember SNL, my brother, his friends would watch it. I can't even tell you how many times I saw Steve Martin hosting. Everybody loved John Belushi, right? John Belushi was filming, where I grew up and all kinds of crazy.
Rosanna Dana.
Rosanna Dana. It just was part of my childhood experiences. I'm not sure if I should have been watching it or not, but I guess my parents didn't know. But to me, I think he has, like you said, the qualifications. I'm not nervous about it. I'm excited about it. And I think he just has a love for movies, and it feels that way to me.
I also think Jason knows how to create an emotional landscape.
That's good.
In things that feel so far away, especially for my generation. You got to consider SNL has been an integral part of the comedy landscape since before I was born.
Oh,
it makes
100%.
or breaks comedian careers daily.
I would agree. So it's a tall order, but we think he can do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Rebecca, what else is going on out there?
Well, Doug Liman is not attending his film premiere at South by Southwest.
I think that may be a problem.
Especially if you're Doug Liman, who submitted the following column to Deadline.
Uh-oh, who wrote this one?
Doug Liman.
Oh. Well, what's up with that?
I don't know if you remember the name Doug Liman. Do you remember Doug?
He's a director.
Okay, you're getting there.
All right, and...
Do you remember Edge of Tomorrow? The one with Emily Blunt, she played...
Okay. Yeah, okay.
He directed that. Do you remember Tom Cruise smuggling certain things over the border for the FBI?
Man, really?
Yep, he did that one too. American Made, he did that one.
Okay, and?
The Jason Bourne series, he had the first film, and he also did some producing on the other ones as
That's
well.
right. Yep, I remember this.
Yep.
And what's his problem? It sounds like he may have a problem.
He's got a bit of a problem and a bit of a bone to pick with Jeff Bezos.
Oh, gosh. Everybody doesn't like Jeff Bezos.
Well, I'm about to give you another reason why.
All right, lay it on us.
Amazon MGM Studios was supposed to be handling his distribution for the remake of Roadhouse, aka the one Patrick Swayze movie where it feels like he's actually going to have a serious career.
And yet, no. And yet he goes back to Dirty Dancing, and there it is.
You may also remember this movie from when we were watching Young Sheldon. It was the movie that Mary was watching.
Oh. So he's boycotting them, or
They told him it was going to get a theatrical release.
Okay, so he's thumbs up, right?
Right? So far, so good. And then they're like, yeah, nah. All that work you did with Jake Gyllenhaal is for naught. We're just going to throw it on streaming.
Oh, ouch. Oh, ouch.
Yep. So he's like,
uh-oh.
You know that fancy smancy premiere? Yeah. And this is a huge deal because South by Southwest is where you get the buzz on indie movies that you're trying to pitch to a mainstream audience.
Oh, he's mad.
Oh, he's mad. The fact that he's writing a guest column in Deadline.
I was thinking, wait a minute. That's why I was like, oh, wait a minute. He is the same guy.
Yeah, he's the same guy.
Oh, no wonder he's mad. Oh, boy.
He's hopping mad.
It's his movie, and he's skipping the premiere.
Yup. I guarantee you this just got 20 times the eyeballs on the film, too, because now a lot of people are like, streaming? Not streaming. Festival? No festival.
Yikes. I'm wondering if he realizes this may actually sabotage the movie in some ways.
I think Doug's been in the industry long enough, he realizes the very real possibility it might sabotage the film. The other thing is, it might motivate more people. Give it a theatrical release. Give it a theatrical release.
All right, so a little bit of peer pressure in the whole. All right. No,
and the wider echelons of the cinema community might go, that might happen to our movie.
The reality is people are not happy with this. I thought we were not past it, but a little bit past it. Like, oh, yeah, that didn't work. We're going to stop just straight to video or streaming it. Because honestly, the mindset, if it just goes straight to streaming, what do you say? Straight to video. Oh, that's positive.
The other thing was, remember that horrendous contract dispute that Scarlett Johansson had over Black Widow?
Oh, yes. And she won.
Yep. This is giving me icky, sticky vibes like that.
Oh, yowza. I'm afraid to ask, do we have any questions from the box?
Being that Amazon was born in the streaming world as opposed to being a traditional studio, do you think they're more apt to just throw things to streaming that they don't think is going to do well in the theater versus a traditional movie house that might take a chance on a movie to try to make some more profit?
I can see business-wise why Amazon would want to shunter a lot of these films to streaming. It makes sense. This is their primary money-making engine when you're not buying something from them. That being said, Amazon came out to say, we want to invest in theatrical films. We want these films to get nominated for awards, and you can't do that if there isn't a theatrical release window.
That's interesting, but I think that's true, that if it just goes straight to streaming, it almost feels like their vote of confidence has been diminished. I don't know if that's the point. Like you said, I'm not sure if it's because it generates revenue. But if Bezos and, the rest of his team isn't really talking, you kind of have to wonder.
And you also have to fill in the gaps and do some mind reading, which may or may not be a great thing for your stock price at the end of the day.
Well, and I'm laughing. Who wants to read Jeff Bezos' mind? Ooh. Do you really want to know what's going on in his mind? The box. Ooh, boxes. I mean, I don't really want to be in there. That sounds like a scary place to be.
I feel like there's other minds worth reading.
I would agree with that too. Thanks for joining us this week. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema community together.
Next week, we're excited to be reviewing The Promised Land. And on our Movies and More weekly show, the new movie, Argyle. Finally!
Meow. Telling you. Please remember to like, subscribe, and to share our channel.
If you enjoyed this show, you might check out last week where we reviewed Queen, Rocks Montreal. And on our Movies and More weekly show, we reviewed ISS.
Remember, cinema community, movies are better together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.